Hello everyone. We're doing witchcraft today. No, not the type with a wand. We're not in Harry Potter land, no. We are doing the Witch Hat Atelier series. When I first picked up Volume 1, I was instantly transported away, gripped, couldn't stop reading, ordered all the other volumes as they came out, and it is one of my absolute favourite manga. So here you see all the volumes that are available to me so far, and that is 10. I have pre-ordered volume 11, which should be out, I think, next month. And then we'll have obviously quite a wait until volume 12. I am rationing my reading very strictly because otherwise I'll just gallop through it and then I have a huge waiting period and I don't want that. So I'm going quite slowly and having a pause between each volume. It's very hard because this series is incredibly addictive. I know many of you are already reading it and are familiar with it, and we've talked about it before on the community tab, but I just wanted to talk about it and encourage those of you who haven't tried it yet to give it a go, because I recently had another Plushie join the crew. And you see him here, this little white, sort of wormy bug-type creature. Yes, he is adjustable. You can, twist him a bit, whichever way you want to have him sit or displayed. And he is called Fudemushi. I will explain in a moment what type of creature he is, because I first need to tell you just a little bit about the story, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. How did I get Fudemushi? He came from Japan, obviously. He came in this box, and that was a special edition for Volume 12, which has already been published in Japan. And that is here. So that was in the box, together with Fudemushi, or in English we would call him BrushBuddy. Here are the details on the back of the box, and you can see you can display BrushBuddy in all sorts of poses, including twined around furniture. The first volume came out in Japan in 2017, published by Kodansha. Also in the West, they brought us Volume 1 in 2019. Now, the thing that immediately drew me to Witch Hat Atelier was quite simply seeing the artwork on the cover. When I saw that, I thought, I have to have a look at this manga. There are a few colour pages at the beginning of Volume 1, and this first page basically introduces the theme of the whole story. Is an athlete always an athlete, even from birth? What about astronauts or pop stars? You can't know what you're going to be until you grow up, right? That's what our parents always told us. What about witches? Is it the same for them? So here we have the age-old question that all young people have to grapple with. What will I be when I grow up? What do I want to do? What am I good at? And it can take quite a long time figuring that out sometimes. Well, here we have the story of a young girl called Coco, who's growing up with her mother, and she lives in a world where people are either born regular or they're born as witches. Now, Coco wasn't born as a witch, but she is absolutely entranced by magic and witchcraft. She loves it beyond anything else, and she wishes so much that she could do it. So basically we have the story of a young girl finding her path in life, which is the theme of so many other stories, because it's perennially interesting, depending on the writer, of course. So I'm just going to tell you the very beginning of the story to give you an idea. No big spoilers. So Coco starts out wondering about the world she says is brimming with magic, which brings boons to everyone. But I have no idea, she says, how exactly magic works. And that's one of the things you will find out in this story. Only witches can cast spells. The rest of us can only bask in whatever comes our way. You can't just become a witch. That is the received wisdom in that world. I wish I had been born a witch. But wouldn't you know it, the next thing that happens, out of the blue, a Pegasus carriage arrives at her mother's workshop, bringing a lot of fine ladies, and at the same time, much more modest and reserved, a young man arrives. Now, he just needs some cloth, and Coco's mother says Coco is quite capable of dealing with that. She will cut the right size for you. So the two of them start talking a little bit. And he is fascinated by her precise measurement and cutting. Now, as they talk and Coco chats away, he finds out that she is completely obsessed with magic, loves it beyond anything, and she also confides in him that she has a book of spells, which she once, as a little girl, bought at a fair from a masked witch. Now, this piece of information gets the young man's attention. He's called Quiffrey, by the way, and he runs a witch atelier. Now, witches can be either female or male. You use the same term. What happens is now that the Pegasus carriage gets damaged and nobody knows how to fix it. So Quiffrey offers, and thanks to his magic, the carriage is repaired. Because in this world, magic should always be used to help people, to make their lives better. Now, Quiffrey has obviously noticed that there is something rather special about Coco, but he isn't sure what yet. And after that, a series of events occur, one of which is quite shocking and distressing for Coco, and I'm not going to go into any details now. But these events lead to, as you probably will have guessed by now, Coco becoming an apprentice at Quiffrey's atelier. So really, so far, you'd have to say it's a charming story, but it's not unlike many other fantasy stories about children and magic. What makes this story different and so special? One aspect is the detail about the magic. The author, Kamome Shirahama, has gone into minute, fine-grained exploration and explanation of how the particular magic of this world works. And as I mentioned before, there are no wands. They cast spells by drawing them. She explains this in a wonderful way, and it is so fascinating that I didn't mind reading the tiniest details about this magic casting and what types of inks you need and how the drawing works. It's fascinating. And this is in fact where BrushBuddy comes in. He's one of these little creatures of that world. He just loves the smell of this particular ink. So Fudemushi, which I believe is a Japanese word for brush bug, we call him BrushBuddy, is a fluffy caterpillar-like creature who attaches itself to Coco during her test for apprenticeship, mainly due to his species' love for the smell of magical inks. And henceforth he resides at Quifri's Atelier as a pet. It is frequently hinted that he has an intelligence and persona as complex as a human's. Now, BrushBuddy is in fact more than a pet. In some of the stories, he actually does play a quite important part. And without his help, Coco would sometimes be adrift. So I mentioned how the books are, in a way, a sort of encyclopaedia about the magic of this world. And we have had a bit of a trend, I feel, in recent years for certain manga to focus on a very detailed exploration of one particular aspect. For example, there's one I've been reading called Delicious in Dungeon. And I think that's actually being made into an anime as well. That focuses entirely on the types of foods you can find as a dungeon explorer and how to prepare and cook them, etc. And there are others like that. I sometimes feel that the story takes rather a backseat. It's often very, very slow to progress. The thing I like about Witch Hat Atelier is that despite the huge amount of detail about this crucial aspect, the witchcraft, the story's not taking a backseat. The story is still the important thing. The detail about magic is not weighing down the story, it is enhancing it. That's how I see it, and that's why I think, certainly one reason why this series is so brilliant. Another reason, of course, is the beautiful artwork. And I haven't met one person who hasn't been blown away by it when they saw it. It reminds me in a way a bit of the very old children's books that I still had, when I was a kid, that had this style of drawing. It harks back a bit to the 19th century, and I really love that. And finally, what is so important and convincing about this story is Shirahama's sheer storytelling skill. She is great at exploring personalities, and she understands that true drama and tension arises not out of some convoluted plot construction, but out of the relationships and the tensions between people. She understands friendship and envy and jealousy between people. She understands the urge to create and to destroy. And she understands overconfidence in one's abilities as well as lack of self-confidence, the problems of constantly doubting oneself. All these topics are explored in the story. A lot of the time there are real nail-biters. It does get very exciting at times. Now, Witch Hat Atelier already has a large fan base, well deserved. And unlike some other fan bases, I think it's overall a very pleasant and happy one. If you haven't yet had the chance to try Witch Hat Atelier, I really recommend you give it a go and let yourself be swept away into the world of magic and witch hats and casting spells and drawing them and having adventures. Thank you very much for watching. As always, please keep well. Until next time, bye-bye.